What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is iRate Reviews, the show where I go over a comic book, its story, its art, give you my impressions, and let you know whether it's something to go back to the comic book shop for or not. So make sure you subscribe to get more of these every single week. The book that I want to talk about right now is Thanos number 15. So from the crackpot team of Donny Cates and Geoff Shaw and so many good people that are working on this book, we get the most insane story yet. We get the origin of Cosmic Ghost Rider. We get the final battle, or the person, this new character that they're going to be fighting, what King Thanos is really afraid of. But let's dive into the comics so that way we can talk about it.
First things first, Thanos has to be one of the largest surprises from Marvel Legacy. Overall, the first arc that was going along with Jeff Lemire and that had multiple artists was fantastic, but Donny Cates and Geoff Shaw have taken it to a brand new level. But in Thanos number 15, first off, we open up with a gigantic splash page of the Ghost Rider's skull in the midst of its penance stare, with a background of exactly what it does to the people that stare into it, which is just terrible to begin with. And then immediately we see Thanos staring into it and the recountenance, or the tales of his greatest misdeeds, the giant travesties that he's wielded all across the universe. And I mean, it is just absolutely devastating. However, for Thanos, these aren't devastating things. These are his fondest memories. And, Thanos, young Thanos, King Thanos, they start their conversation. It's just like, okay, so what are we supposed to do now? It's like, well, now let's have breakfast. But the reality of the situation is that there is a very solitary atmosphere about this. It is just King Thanos, it is the Cosmic Ghost Rider, and no one else. He's killed almost every single thing inside this galaxy, and yet he still saves a place at the table for Lady Death with one black rose. The big deal is that this is just one of the situations where finally this young, impetuous Thanos, this dominant titan that sees no equal in any enemy, is staring into the face of his older self, who seems downtrodden and fearful, and who is going to be the one that holds Thanos at bay. And it turns out it is the Fallen One. This is somebody that hasn't really been mentioned in Marvel history or things like that at this point in time, but they understand that the conflict with this Fallen One is very near. Of course, we had a little bit of time before he arrives, so let's take a little bit longer look at Cosmic Ghost Rider. As he's cleaning up the scraps and he goes down to feed the dog, we get to finally see, the underbelly of this temple and who the dog actually is. It's the Hulk. We've got Bruce Banner as the maestro, just sitting there on this pile of bones that he's been gnawing on, this mountain of trash, as the pet of King Thanos in his old age. Ghost Rider starts talking about these kind of things. He was the Herald of Galactus. The Hulk is looking for Thanos to kill him so that way he doesn't have to exist in this kind of situation. And then finally the big thing happens. The reveal of Cosmic Ghost Rider's true identity, and it happens to be our favorite Punisher, Frank Castle. I mean, it's just one of those things where, it's such a big deal for the reader. It is such a big deal for the reader, and Thanos is so damn flippant about it. It's like, I do not know that name. So it's just one of those things where, oh yeah, well, Frank's a pretty big deal to some people, but definitely not to the greater cosmic Marvel universe. We see Thanos, King Thanos, sitting in front of the altar, kneeling in front of the altar of death, making his preparations, praying to the woman that he loves, and then Thanos, the impetuous person that he is, comes in, tries to basically intimidate his older self into, kind of exerting his dominance once again as he pulls out this flame sword that used to be the property of Surtur, which garners a bit of a smile, a little bit of respect from his younger self. But the big thing is that finally they are about to come face to face with the Fallen One. And Thanos, young Thanos, it's so tough talking about this book simply because the Thanoses, they're the same person, except that the one's an older version, one's a younger version. And even though this young one thinks that he's walked away from death, he no longer needs the approval of the Dark Lady. King Thanos is like, that's bullshit. You can't walk away from death. No one walks away from death, especially and not even you. What it comes down to is that he has given her everything. Over the course of his life, Thanos will give her everything until he ultimately ends up like this king. He's even killed Adam Warlock and peeled his skin from his body. But There's one thing left for him to give. And then the explosion happens, and then we start getting into this really serious battle, this confrontation. We get to finally find out who the Fallen One is, and as Thanos makes fun of his older self, with disrespect over the fact that he's just cowering there, holding a sword, wielding this inside this armor. He doesn't have the value, and he doesn't have the strength or value or presence of the current Thanos until we finally see who the actual Fallen One is. And the Fallen One isn't a person, it's a title. And the title appears to be held by none other than the Silver Surfer. And it appears that he's leading a horde from the negative zone, which is absolutely goddamn crazy. And that's why I love Thanos. Thanos is a fantastic book simply because Donny Cates is just throwing everything that he possibly can into this. It's like, all right, you want time travel? Sure, we'll give you a new Ghost Rider, cosmic one. It's going to be Frank Castle. The Hulk is the pet of this Thanos in the future. We're going to take Silver Surfer. We're going to throw him in the negative zone. We're going to do all this kind of stuff. You've basically seen Thanos win. What is his last victory? What does he need to appease his lady love of death? We don't really know. And Donny Cates is just writing a fantastic book. Geoff Shaw, who has made huge strides or huge changes in his style from God Country, which he was earlier at, it was just one of those real tectonic shifts. It was monumental in how his style changed, all for the better in this respect. This story loves this art style, as well as you've got the coloring from Fabella, and then you've got the lettering from Clayton Cowles. There's so much good going on in this book, and I can't wait to read the next issue. Overall, Thanos has been my favorite pick out of Marvel Legacy, if not one of the best Marvel books that's currently out on the shelves, and one that I definitely recommend for you guys. However, I want to know what you guys think too, so hit me up in the comments down below and we can start that conversation. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.